Good afternoon and welcome. I'm Brent Hunsaker. Governor Butch Otter says he will make sure that Idaho doesn't lose money for families receiving child support payments. Eric Gonzalez explains the state's options before federal money runs out. He begins our team coverage. Eric?
Governor Otter says he'll make a move but doesn't know what it will be just yet. We do know the federal clock for compliance is ticking. In less than 3 months, Idaho's children could lose millions of dollars in child support payments.
I'm not prepared to stand up here today and tell you I'm going to call a special session, because I think there's a lot of homework for us to do in order, if we were to have a special session, to have a successful one.
The federal commissioner states if Idaho does not amend its state code, funding for Idaho's child support program will end July 1st. That means the state will lose the ability to enforce child support payments.
For example, withhold wages from an employer in another state.
As well as track parents across state lines, deny passports to parents, and withhold tax refunds. Idaho Department of Health and Welfare will be sending out letters to 155,000 households next week, letting them know about the possible changes.
These folks will have to make significant adjustments in their daily budgets and their daily lives if we are unable to transfer this money to their households.
The governor says the one thing he won't do is to do nothing.
That's not even entered the discussion. We are going to be engaged and we're going to do something.
Idaho Health and Welfare is urging people to reach out to their state representatives to voice their opinions. Back to you, Brent.
Eric, thank you. Did the governor say what options that he's looking at right now? He said he's not going to do anything.
He did say they were looking at laws in Utah and Wyoming, and they have passed their laws there, and he says that D.C. was fine with their laws. Back to you.
We'll see what happens, Eric. Thank you. You know, one of the biggest impacts of these cuts to child support could come in the form of enforcement tools. This includes wage withholding and the ability to track down parents who don't want to pay up. Kelsey McFarland continues our team coverage to give us some perspective on what this means. Kelsey?
That's right. The Department of Health and Welfare says money collected through the use of just these specific tools makes up more than 60% of the state's child support collection. So without wage withholding and parent locating services, the parent with custody is likely out of luck. I spoke with some Boise residents who were outraged by the idea.
I just think it's a travesty. I think it's horrific. You know, there's so many people that need that money, and to turn it away, and just think about the income that they're spending as well. You know, the other people's jobs are also impacted by that money that's not going to be spent here in Idaho.
Boise resident Ruth Krebs says she knows a lot of single moms and says it's not easy for them.
Week to week, I mean, it's always, you know, the only reason they're making it half the time is, you know, these subsidies and these payments that they're getting.
Now, if Idaho doesn't comply with the federal regulations, the service that garnishes wages to make sure those child support payments are made will no longer be an option. Wage withholding is used to collect child support from parents who don't voluntarily make their payments.
Being a single parent is already hard enough.
This chart shows child support collected using the service. In 2014, 61% of payments were made this way. And if a non-custodial parent took off to another state, there wouldn't be a way to track them down without federal parent locator services.
I think that's terrible. I think that's letting people off the hook.
Because they need to find the people who are responsible to take care of those children. And that they would skate and run off someplace else isn't right. I mean, these people need to take care of the children. It's only right.
Right now, there are more than 15,000 cases in Idaho using the parent locator service. The Department of Health and Welfare tells me nearly $20 million in child support payments were collected just last month. But that doesn't reflect the number of children in need of it because some parents are unable to contribute. Back to you.
Kelsey, thank you. On average, Idaho collects more than $200 million in child support payments a year. Just last month in Ada County, nearly $3.5 million was collected. In Canyon County, about $2.3 million, and about $224,000 in Elmore County.